city council gave some emergency powers to the city manager a year and a half ago when COVID hit, and we've had an emergency order for the Parklet program over the last year and a half. Around at the June meeting, plus or minus, the city council gave staff direction that they wanted city staff to come up with a permanent Parklet program that would be presented to them by the end of this calendar year. So to back into it, what the council direction also was to gather public input, to have, we're gonna go in front of the Traffic Safety Commission next week. We'll also go to Planning Commission before we go to City Council. So thank you for coming. Today is just sort of, we're gonna show you kind of from a 30,000 foot level of the way that staff is proposing to take this. This is draft. It's not set in stone. So anything and everything you see is certainly moldable, and your input's super important.
Just really quick, we are trying to record, just so everybody's aware. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Off the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying.
Okay, great. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so the draft schedule. Today you're here. We're going to Traffic Safety Commission on Tuesday. It's a 4 o'clock meeting.
It's Zoom.
It's a Zoom meeting, so if you want to go on to that Zoom meeting, hopefully it will be up and running by then. You can give feedback at that time as well. So there'll be multiple times for you to state your opinions, which is important as we move through the process. After we go to Traffic Safety Commission, our tentative schedule would be to go to Planning Commission in October, and then followed by City Council in November, December. Okay, next slide. Are we stuck?
No.
Okay, so I'll start a bit on the permit requirements. A little bit of history, the permit requirements for this program, the city issued encroachment permits. It was a no-fee permit, and that carries through to July of next year. Can you just, how many restaurant folks or how many Parklet folks do we have? Okay, great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. So what we're considering moving forward is there's chapter 15 in the municipal code is sort of the umbrella for what you can do out in the street, or the right of way is what we refer to it as. So what we're intending to do is to rewrite most of chapter 15 to incorporate different types of encroachment permits. So we'll list various types of permits. So that. Okay. So that from a permit standpoint, the direction would be to create a type of encroachment permit which would give flexibility, not just for parklets, for sidewalk dining, kind of the whole outside experience. So this isn't going to be just, understand it's not just a parklet, it's parklet, sidewalk dining, and other things you can and can't do out in the street right away. One of the additional things, and there's other programs that are out there that we're going to kind of mirror from. We're going to create a Parklet handbook, and the handbook is going to create some design standards. It's going to create the rules, if you will, what you can and can't do, what the requirements are for a parklet. So, we've gotten a lot of feedback. One of the issues with feedback is parking and safety. And what I mean by that is parking downtown, generally, pedestrian safety as well as vehicle safety. Rich Deal is the city's traffic engineer. What Rich and I, along with Laurel, did is we went down and walked Lighthouse primarily. And Rich, so we're gonna come up with a couple different parking schemes, parking striping schemes, or different options. And we're gathering input. So, what, do we have like the existing, what's there now?
Yeah, I just had that one.
Okay, so what we have there now, you can see where and what we did is we just took one block. We didn't do the entire downtown Lighthouse area. So we've got a bank of parklets on the Fountain Lighthouse side, and then on the other side next to the Holman building, we have a single parklet. We have a crosswalk at the Fountain intersection, crosswalk at the other, at the Grand intersection, okay?
And 8 parking spaces.
And eight parallel parking spaces, or angle parking spaces. So, one of the challenges with Lighthouse is the center row of parking. So if you've been down there, the parking spaces aren't very long. So very often somebody goes down with a large truck, van, a big car, and it's hanging out either side. And it just creates some challenges. It also creates some challenges with people safely backing up, walking, getting in and out. So option number one for parking would be to take the angled spaces in the middle and create parallel spaces. So we'd go from 8 to 5, and that's what this slide represents. And the one thing that we are dealing with is we've got tree wells on either end. So option number one is to make parallel spaces. In addition to that, we would add some additional striping down Lighthouse to sort of keep people more in the middle as opposed to all over. So.
Recording in progress.
Got it. Okay. So ideally, you want a 12 to 14 foot travel lane. You don't want to go much less than 12. And sometimes a wider travel lane creates different challenges. So with this, what we would do is create from, if you can picture the backside of the existing parklets, we would create a white line on the sidewalk side, which would have about a 5-foot buffer zone between the back of the parklet and so. Got it. Okay. So ideally, you want a 12 to 14 foot travel lane. You don't want to go much less than 12. And sometimes a wider travel lane creates different challenges. So with this, what we would do is create from, if you can picture the backside of the existing parklets, we would create a white line on the sidewalk side, which would have about a 5-foot buffer zone between the back of the parklet and that white line. We'd have a travel lane of about 13 feet. Then we would put either double yellow line or another yellow line in the middle. So that gives us plenty of travel. And it helps with backup, it helps with visibility. One of the challenges is this crosswalk and Fountain. With that extra buffer zone, it gives somebody an ability to walk out and see what's coming. So that's option number one. Option number two.
Best question is now or later?
Sure.
Parallel parking in center on both sides?
No.
One direction.
One direction.
In which direction would it be?
That's what you have to figure out.
Yeah, it would.
Just one direction.
It would be one direction. So you park from one direction, We know people's habits, you can, unless there's a barrier there, they're gonna try it in both directions. So that's why we have an expert here to sort of tell us how to do that. Okay. Any other questions on the parallel?
Yeah, is this just a Parklet design or are you redesigning the entire downtown?
Well, the intent is we're not redesigning the downtown, we're just coming up with ideas to restripe it.
Reallocating the space. Essentially, it feels really tight because you have angle parking center, angle parking side, and then the parklets go right out to the edge of the angle park. And that's the part that makes it difficult. So the idea is, how do we reallocate the space so the parklets work great for outdoor seating? There's a buffer between the edge of the parklet and travel. So you've got space for pedestrians, bikes, and litter. And we don't lose all the parking in the center. So in any of these cases, you know.
I live on Lower Fountain, and when I'm the stop signs on Fountain that aren't on Lighthouse, it's just dangerous. I mean, I can't see like from the corner of the Victorian corner. If I want to go straight ahead, I have to go like past the Parklet just to see, and it's just so dangerous. It needs a four-way stop there.
And we can look at that separate from the stripe.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on the parallel? Okay. The next option is to go to a steeper. You can see the angle parking would go steeper. So the bumpers would be on the, I guess it would be the side of the street, is that?
Whichever side.
Yeah, it could be
This
either
is,
side.
this is driving in by Janini's.
Yeah.
So the bumpers would be.
So it would still lose, I think, 3 parking spaces. There is a third option, which I didn't mention, or we didn't draw a stripe. We can eliminate parking in the middle completely. And stripe it and just move people around. So that's a third option. Questions on that?
I think then the visibility would be better, because going up Fountain, you can see over some of the cars that are in.
So visibility would be better with no parking. Okay.
Short people.
Okay.
Should we move on?
Eliminate the parking, but you also serve a small store.
I think the intent, it's not set, but the intent would be, there'd be nothing out in the middle. We just have striping. We'd have to do something with the tree wells. But I think Rich come up with a good striping plan that would.
And if I could just chime in on the question on crowdsourced stores in the middle, no, we're focusing on trying to fill it.
If you eliminate parking, I think the speed of traffic.
You know, that's a really valid point. Right now, because it's so tight, speed of traffic is very, very slow. So anytime we make it really wide open and clear, speeds are well a little bit. So finding the right balance is really, really important. And along with that is, you know, character of the downtown is kind of essential. It has a really, really nice feel. That's kind of feel on town. Same time, you need to improve visibility. You need to less vendors. So, right, all those pieces kind of come together just right.
I'll just say, because we're playing traffic on Central. There was nothing in the middle. The traffic increases at the speed. A lot when there's nothing in the middle.
How much they flow there?
it's, they've been putting in, I mean, I would say at least hour, which is dramatic, so regardless of visibility, you people all day, so they had to put, you know, the
Traffic
plants in the middle, and our Parklet actually helps go down that traffic, which in the 11 years we've been there, it's so much safer with slowing down the traffic, regardless of, I mean, the increased visibility, that speed just went up, and that's way more dangerous than.
Speed is everything.
And if we eliminated that center parking on Daniel Public Works Director, Deputy City Manager, we could also look at some other traffic calming measures between those blocks where the parking was, landscaping, even potted plant type of things that are gonna be permanent to decrease that speed still. Like that there's something there narrowing that lane.
There's other options besides totally eliminating. But they're also, like,
I forgot to mention who we are, so I apologize. I'm John Keel, I'm the city's building official. I've worked with Laurel Howard since the start of the Parklet stuff, so we've been really involved. Rich Keel is the city traffic engineer. Ingo is the public works director, assistant manager. Yeah, yes.
If you decide to keep parking in the center, I would think the angled parking would be better for traffic flow because people can pull into the parking space. When you parallel park, some people are not as good at doing that, and so that would completely stop traffic.
That's such a
while
nice way
they're-
of saying.
You know, while they're trying to maneuver into a spot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the power just.
That's a really good comment, and one of the things about the angle parking on this is, no matter which way we orient it, the driver is gonna be parallel parking on the left, or the driver's side, which tends to, you know, limit the number of people who can successfully execute that.
Let's give it an idea right away.
Calvin.
You know, one of my experiences that I think is something that's nothing to do with the parking. It is parking, but it's also the pedestrian crosswalks.
Sure.
And there's parking right up to the edge of those crosswalks. So consequently, somebody crossing the pavement, the sidewalk onto the road, is not seen. And my feelings are that we should the distance between the crosswalk and the first parking, there should be a restriction on how close you can park to the crosswalk. So there was at least when they're driving along, there's a space there.
Sure.
You can see the person step, and it's just for the amount of times you have to stop because somebody's already on the crosswalk. Even if they're in the middle of the road, you've got parking both sides.
Sure.
And I think four-way stop signs would slow down traffic, and I'm just all for four-way stop signs because,
Okay.
yeah, because it's hard to see out there and it can be dangerous.
Stop signs are up to Public Works, and if, you know, we will certainly factor that in and have a discussion. Thank you. Yeah.
Have you looked at parallel parking on a curb and leaving the diagonal in the center? And then leaving the bike lanes there?
That's an option.
Okay,
And that would alleviate people having to park left, on the left side, they're used to parking on the right side in both directions.
okay, yeah, we could
Yeah, that's an option.
take a look at it. Okay, my slides went away, but I'm gonna go by memory. So the other issues, the other potential issues that we've gotta, make part of the program is, number one is water management. Or if you own a restaurant or if you live in this area, you know, water is, liquid gold here. So, built into the program is, the water rules are not ours. They're a third-party agency, so whatever they say, we have to follow. So we've got to remember, the way that the water rules were prior to COVID, as it related to number of seats, with restaurants, you could have 50% of your inside restaurant seats outside without an additional water allocation. If they go back to that, that's the rule. I don't know, but that's one thing that we'll have to factor
Recording in
in.
progress.
The other thing is ABC. ABC is alcohol beverage control. So ABC loosened up some of their rules for allowing booze to be taken across the sidewalk. So if that changes and they go back to their pre-COVID rules, that's gonna impact whether you can serve alcohol in the parklet on the other side of the sidewalk.
Is that state?
That's a state agency, yeah, and we just bring that up so that everybody's aware, those aren't our rules, we're mandated to follow them. There was a couple of challenges with some drainage. And what we tried to do is build in plenty of drainage so that drainage goes under the parklet. What our goal was is to make sure that the parklet was flush with the sidewalk, so you could have access to those. One of the advantages with issuing an encroachment permit is it's not a it's a permit, but if something during the process goes, hey, this didn't work, it gives the city and the applicant the flexibility to say, hey, we had a drainage issue here, we have to fix it, let's fix it. So it builds in some flexibility.
Fee schedule.
Fees, yeah.
I'm sorry, go back to your original design and your options. Is there any thought into widening the sidewalks and then getting rid of the parklets and actually just doing on sidewalk parking? I mean dining.
We did run an option that had really substantial hardscape changes. And it's a very viable option. It gets into the realm of what's your downtown gonna look like, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now. And, you know, doing that needs to be a really comprehensive look at the whole downtown. So, you know, it's possible to look at a study that would take that into consideration so that we're not building hardscape things that we would have to pull out later. And then we use our resources as wise as we possibly can and, you know, build the character that you really, really want.
I understand your issues with the water, and that's a Monterey County issue mostly, but I mean, have you looked at the other cities like San Mateo or Livermore?
Well, with the water issue, that's a region-specific issue. We're bound by the Monterey Regional Water Management District.
Right, but the other cities have the alcohol problem too.
It's gonna be a universal, if ABC changes their rules.
I think it should be said, we're in local government, so we try to always look at other examples out there. We try not to create things if we can borrow good examples. So the idea for the permanent parklet program, we borrowed from the city of Santa Rosa as a concept. We've discussed it with our city attorney, and so that is the model upon which we're basing this proposal.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a quick question. There's a couple of restaurants in town that have permanent parklets outside their restaurant currently. They were approved years ago. Do those stay in addition to this program? So They have two parklets, so they have the one right outside their restaurant and then the new one. You know the two restaurants, so Wild Fish and then Ariana's are the new restaurants, so they have two. Yes, they have two parklets, the metal that were granted a couple years ago. Those are parklets.
Sidewalk dining.
Yeah, so you could have sidewalk dining as well as a parklet.
Okay.
But I think what has to be said is nothing, to John's earlier point, these are all issued on a license or a permit, they're not permanent, there's no tenure. Those building owners, those business owners do not have tenure in those fixtures, okay? The city has the ability to revoke those.
They don't know.
And
Right.
there'll be an annual renewal.
Just like there is,
However, with the
we're on
ABC,
an annual cycle, and we will be.
so however, with the ABC, we as Wild Fish are licensed for our outside dining, separately from the park.
Oh, okay,
So
good to
we-
know,
we-
I didn't know that was.
We
the
have
same.
part of our ABC was to have a separate license for
Oh,
our
okay.
outside
I
dining.
didn't know that.
Because I appreciate proposed changes to the traffic flow on Lighthouse, but I would agree that the existing situation at Fountain and Lighthouse is not safe for drivers and pedestrians.
Okay.
And I can't come across, I've looked at a lot of parklet regulations, many municipalities, not Santa Rosa, but I can't come across one that would allow a parklet on the corner. It's
Okay.
just, it's part of most codes, you cannot do it on the corner,
Okay,
for what it's worth.
sure. Okay, so I think my last, okay, my last topic is on fees. So one of the issues, or not issues, but one thing that like, the other thing is ABC. ABC is alcohol beverage control. So ABC loosened up some of their rules for allowing booze to be taken across the sidewalk. So if that changes and they go back to their pre-COVID rules, that's going to impact whether you can serve alcohol in the parklet on the other side of the sidewalk.
A state.
That's a state agency, yeah, and we just bring that up so that everybody's aware, those aren't our rules, we're mandated to follow them. There was a couple of challenges with some drainage. And what we try to do is build in plenty of drainage so that drainage goes under the parklet. What our goal was to make sure that the parklet was on the sidewalk, so you have access to those. One of the advantages with issuing an encroachment permit is it's not a fixed, it's a permit, but if something during the process goes, hey, this didn't work, it gives the city and the applicant the flexibility to say, hey, we had a drainage issue here, we have to fix it, let's fix it. So it builds in some flexibility. Fees, yeah.
Welcome to widening the sidewalks and the
We did run an option that had varsity machine. And it's a very viable option. In the realm of what your downtown gonna look like, 5, 10, 15 years from now, and doing that needs to be possible to look at a study that would take that into consideration, so that we're not building hardscape things and then later. Or resources.
I understand your issues with the water as a.
Well, with the water issue, that's a region-specific issue. We're bound by the Monterey Regional Water Management District.
Right, but the other cities have the alcohol
It's gonna be a universal, if ABC, changes their rules.
I think it should be said, we're in local government, so we try to always look at other examples. So the idea for the permanent parklet program, we borrow from the city of San Francisco with our city attorney, and so that is the model on which we're basing this proposal.
A couple of restaurants in town that have parklets, so they have you know the two restaurants, so Wild Fish and then Parklets, that were
Yeah, so you could have sidewalk dining as well as parking.
I think what has to be said is nothing, to John's earlier point, these are all issued, license or permit, they're not permanent, there's no tenure. Those building owners, those business owners do not have tenure in those. As the ability to revoke those.
And there'll be an annual.
Just like there is, we're on an annual cycle.
Oh, okay, so I didn't know that.
We have part of our ABC was to have a license.
Okay, didn't know that.
As I appreciate proposed changes to the traffic flow on Lighthouse, but I would agree that the existing situation at Fountain and Lighthouse.
The recording it.
I can't come across a lot of parking regulations in many municipalities, not Santa Rosa, but I can't come across one that would allow a parklet on the corner. Okay, that's part of most codes, you cannot do it on the corner. Okay. For what it's worth.
Sure. Okay, so I think my last, okay, my last topic is on fees. So one of the issues, or not issues, but one of the items that the city council wanted us to explore is different fee options. Currently, there is no fee. The encroachment permit, the city council has waived that. So one of the considerations is to waive it again. So one would be no fee. The city does have built into, if you understand fee schedules, the city has a fee schedule which lays out costs for everything. So one of the fees that we could use, the city has a 12-month permit for you get a permit for a parking space. And that is currently at $386. We could propose that. And if you have 2 spaces, you would do 2 times 386. Another option is the city does issue other encroachment permits for other things. And currently that fee is $257. So we could issue just a flat $257 annual fee. So we're just thinking of options. And I think is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really what we had to present. So we're anxious to get questions, concerns, any comments, good or bad, so that as we move through the other boards and commissions, that we can take those with us.
Thank you, John. It sounds like you are in favor of the parklets, and now you're just trying to work out the details that benefit the town and its commercial people and its residents and its visitors. Okay, that's the only reason I'm here. I'm here to show my support in favor of the parklets, but not to get down in the weeds. That's your job.
Sorry, my name is Jenny McMurdo. I'm the president and CEO of the Pacific Grove Chamber. Hello. I have a couple of questions and I can talk to staff about them, but we do have people here that are not on Lighthouse. We have, Sergey Peters from Mezzaluna, who is on the sidewalk essentially. So there are other versions of parklets that I was hoping maybe they were going to be part of this program, but I'm not. The only one I'm really seeing that you're tackling right now is Lighthouse. So I just wonder, are those other uses of public space going to be part of this program? And are they also going to be like an annual renewal of a program?
So, hi, this is Laurel O'Halloran. So the sidewalk dining, like Mezzaluna and others, will be included in this program, and so will Central Avenue parklets. We have Happy Girls here, and Vivola's here, and we also have El Vecchio's on, so that it's all inclusive. We're addressing all of these. We're just calling it the PG Parklet program to simplify the name. But if you guys want us to call it something else, we're open for suggestions for that also.
Hi, I'm Sarah Chance. I have Grand Chance on Grand. And I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but I was wondering if there was anything in this plan about non-restaurant parklets. I feel like I could have a beautiful ocean view parklet on Grand. I'm a therapist, so I would love to meet my clients, have peer groups, things like that. And I would just imagine there could be a lot of great outdoor activities in parklets that would draw people to PG. So I was just wondering if there's anything in there about parklets for non-restaurants. And specifically, privacy would be my concern as a therapist, like enclosing the parklet, things like that.
So the intent is not to say it has to be a restaurant. Enclosing a parklet creates walls and barriers. And Rich can talk a little bit about putting a wall up at the backside of a travel lane that, well, I'll let Rich talk.
Yeah, so really visibility is one of the biggest challenges with any of the parklets. And I think all of you guys have experienced them in every location that we have around town. So the important thing is to not create a situation where a driver can't see someone walking out behind a parklet. And even some of our parklets that have glass, when the driver's coming up to be able to see around it, that glass is at such a slight angle, it almost acts like a wall. And it's really, really challenging. Even the 4x4 post that's holding up the glass. So we're really trying to create buffer spaces between the parklet and the travelway. So we push the cars further away from the parklet, so the driver has a little bit better visibility and there's much greater chance of interaction. So the bike rider, pedestrian, whoever can actually see the driver and make eye contact, and then it ends up being a safe situation. In the case where you want to have something that's fully enclosed, that parklet wouldn't be at the edge of the curb. It would be tucked back at the back of sidewalk. So the idea is to find the space that works further back, so pedestrians are walking around it instead of through the parklet. And so there's ways to do that.
Yeah. So also understand the safety element of some of our artery streets. They're not as wide and the sidewalks aren't as wide as Lighthouse is. So they would certainly be reviewed, but they might have a different standard than a wider street.
I don't need a microphone, thank you though.
Well, we want to.
Okay. Debbie Beck, and I have a business in Pacific Grove, and my concern is parking. So if we are allowing any business to have a parklet, where is business parking happening? We're looking at mixed use buildings. We're looking at a lot of different things in Pacific Grove. So where do the merchants and their customers park? I think that's a major concern. So we're hearing other businesses wanting to open up parklets and put them in parking spaces. And that's one less, two less parking spaces. So a concern. Thank you.
I don't have a solid answer for, I mean, we have parking lots, we have city parking lots outside. There's a lot of communities that eliminate parking downtown and want you to leave your car somewhere else. So there's more access, but yes, it's certainly a consideration.
Thank you, Jenny, again. I think when you talk about doing parklet programs and you're talking about taking away parking, parking then becomes part of the consideration. So I'm wondering if the city is interested in doing any kind of infrastructure for parking. One of the wonderful things about Pacific Grove on the peninsula is you can always find parking here, and in other cities you can't. So I think it should be part of the discussion in some fashion. So that's just my 2 cents.
I just want to put it out there that as we kind of define the direction of the town, that parking isn't necessarily, you know, in some senses, parking is passé. We have e-bikes, we have a lot of options. And if we become known as a walkable town, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Hi, my name is Andy Kubica. Is there a way to get a copy of this, the way the Santa Rosa is? Do you have that you could send us or make available to us? The Santa Rosa, you said you're following that there as a model? Okay, and on parking and walkable towns, I mean, Boulder and Colorado Springs are very walkable towns, and they have parking garages. And I mean, if we double decked our current parking that we have now, that would alleviate a lot of the parking concerns. Because if you go over there and look at the parking lot now behind the movie theater, any time of the day, you know, go there at 10 o'clock in the morning, you go there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's about half to 2/3 full, not even on the weekend. So I'm not advocating not doing this. I totally support this. And I like the parklets. And I think if you go online with Google, there's a whole standard that Google has for designing parklets. I'm sure you've looked at that, and I guess if somebody was worried about visibility, I think the minimum standard is like 42 inches. You can't have anything above 42 inches without it being clear. So I don't know if Santa Rosa follows that or they have a lower limit. So in your design presentations, I mean, we asked this to be comments, but we really don't know what to comment on. This is just a basic conceptual start, I guess. So if we're looking at designing parklets, maybe we should have another meeting with what your concepts are so people can come in and comment on. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Murphy. I'm on the Planning Commission, but I'm not here as a commissioner, just as a resident. Now, right now, we have an empty parklet because the restaurant closed. With the new system of annual encroachment permits, how would that be handled?
So the current program that council has adopted right now indicates that if you're gone for more than 2 weeks, you have to take the parklet out. The one empty parklet that is downtown has a person that's working on getting their permits for it. And so we felt it would be punitive to say, take a parklet out only to put it back in. But yes, it will have standards that if there'll be maintenance standards, there will be vacancy standards. There's a whole list of things that we will have included in the handbook.
Julie Davis, Biblos Chatterhouse. Just a comment. I am thrilled that we are still having a discussion. You guys are brilliant at what you did in keeping us in business. We would not be in business after 32 years if you did not give us a parklet. We are all on board on safety. So that's a big concern, I think, for all the restaurant owners. But I believe after living here my whole life, that it has changed the character of Pacific Grove. And I think it's for the better. And I think it's absolutely stunning that you guys are still working with us, unlike a lot of the cities. So thank you so much and keep up the good work, and any meetings you have, I will attend.
Go to you and then pass it on.
Hi, my name is Colleen Goldsmith. I'm a resident, not a restaurant owner. The parklets came about because of COVID. And so a lot of them were rather, I mean, I know there were guidelines with how they were built, but they were still rather hastily built in terms of what they looked like. I love all the restaurants downtown, but I have walked across Victoria's Corner and there was a table of 8 that completely, took up all the space in the sidewalk. I had to go into the restaurant portion where everybody was sitting in order to get around. So I am kind of concerned about the design of the parklets and what they are going to look like in the future. Some of them look like barricades. They're not very attractive. And I know, again, we were supporting our restaurants. We were supporting our businesses downtown. We're also supporting our residents. So we still had a chance to gather and dine together during COVID. So in the future, I really would like to see some attention to the design. In some cities, you see they don't really block visibility as much because they're not solid wood. They're maybe wrought iron. They're a little bit more, you're able to see through them. You see the diners, but you can also see kind of through and around them. So I think that's kind of important is to look at what the design of the future parklets will be like. Also, we're being told by scientists that we may again have issues with infectious disease, whether it's COVID or something else. So I think it's really very far-sighted of the city not to be like Carmel and not, eliminate parklets, but to, be in a position where we want to continue to, support our businesses and support our residents. So I think this should be a very visionary approach. And of course, I kind of like the idea of widening the sidewalks. I also like the idea of making downtown, because we're talking mostly about downtown Lighthouse, something where it's good for cyclists and people who might be on e-bikes, in addition to safety for pedestrians. So I'm glad we're having this meeting today. Thank you.
Yeah, that reminded me of the main thing I wanted to say at this meeting, which was, I think it would be great if you guys designed a parklet that we as business owners could say, we'd like a parklet. We know it's going to cost a certain amount and they'd all be the same. So it would be uniform. They would be designed well. We know the price going in. It would be a preset thing that we didn't all reinvent the wheel and try to come up with a parklet, but that they were all the same if we wanted.
And I'll just make a quick comment on the sidewalk issue. That's going to be built into our handbook, that there'll be minimum widths that you're required to maintain on the sidewalk. The past sidewalk program that the city had either an actual barrier or painted, or so there would be almost lease lines, if you will. There'll be parklet lines or sidewalk lines that you've got to maintain a certain width on the sidewalk.
Kelvin Jacobs, Wildfish. One of the things that we've noticed more than anything else in the last few months, last few weeks especially, is that people are still worried about COVID. It ain't going away. It looks like it's with us forever, some form of COVID. But more to the point, it's the diners. They want the choice, and I suppose 50% of our customers want to sit outside, and it's surprising. Sometimes we get half a dozen people that want to sit inside, and then a crowd only want to eat outside. And if we can't find them a table outside, they won't stay. They'll move along. So I think that's it. It just ain't going away.
And if you have a dog, you can sit outside.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
And I'm not sure how many businesses had parklets before COVID, but it was a program
we got ours 7 years ago. So it's, but I know a lot of people don't realize Central Avenue is still part of Pacific Grove. It is. We're really happy it is. So I will just say, as far as design and transparency, ours has a lot of big planters that are part of it, and the security that people feel when they have small children or dogs. And I think a lot of those, like, very transparent right next to moving traffic, the customers don't feel relaxed when they're dining in those parklets where there's a lot of transparency, like all the way through. So I'm just saying, as part of design, that comfortability and that barricade feeling from moving traffic, and especially if you're talking about increasing the speed of traffic with visibility. I just think, obviously, there's so much that goes into the design, the customer's experience, the pedestrian's experience, the people driving by. But I also want to say, I'm super grateful for having the parklet, and our business is very family friendly, and we have a ton of people that are biking, and they take over a table with their bikes and their kids and their dogs, and we really appreciate the program.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions? Know that this is evolving, and we'll take your information. Tuesday night at 4 o'clock, we'll go before the Traffic Safety Commission. And I will say, each step along the way, there's roles and responsibilities of each decision-making body. So when we go to Traffic Safety Commission on Tuesday, we're going to kind of be focused on the traffic part of it. But there's elements that we will build in, and your feedback is important and it's valued. So if you don't know how to get a hold of us, what our intent is to do is we're going to create a page, I think,
Yeah, so we'll be creating a PG Parklet page on our city website. This video will be uploaded there. Just design guidelines as we move along and form our program. Everything will be available there. We also have a social media. I advise all restaurant owners to follow our city's social media, because we blast a lot of stuff there too. And just a reminder, this is an afternoon meeting, but we will be having evening meetings.
And also, before we came here, city staff sat down with Public Works, with Joyce and Dan. We also sat down with the police department. So it's not just a single division department, it's a citywide effort. Our goal is to make it as open and friendly and safe as we possibly can. And the ultimate decision maker is not staff, it is city council. So understand that we're gathering information, we'll take the information and present it ultimately to city council.
My name is Andy again, and I'm chairman of the Traffic Commission. I came here this morning as a resident, not as a chairman of the Traffic Commission. And you said it's coming to the Traffic Commission on Tuesday, but it doesn't sound like you have a conceptual design that Traffic Commission can actually make a decision on. They could give you some inputs of what they thought of your couple options, but I'm assuming that, and I don't know if it's say it here or say it at that meeting, that when you come up with a design, it will come back to the Traffic Commission again for advice.
I'm Ben, I'm the city manager here. No, because that's outside of the purview of the Traffic Safety Commission. We're not looking for a commission that's focused more on traffic safety to weigh in on design guidelines.
The reason I'm asking is it depends on the design, whether it's a see-through design or a solid design, and that would affect how people would make comments on it from a traffic safety point of view. That's why I made the comment. Thank you. Thank you. You know, the open space ones in Castle Rock, Colorado, they have more open space ones than higher ones like this. And it's almost like they have a cookie cutter. You come down to the city and you buy one type, A, B, or C, and they have planters and everything. So it's kind of see-through. So I don't know what the Santa Rosa one is. I don't know what ours is going to be, but I don't know if we need to look at that or take a look at that. So it's more visible. So it'd be more safety items.
Thanks, Annie. I can take this again. So one of the, I think our successful points of our program is it does allow for some individuality and character. A lot of the parklets mirror the restaurant to which they're attached. One thing I would not want to do is make them uniform so that they were a cookie cutter. And we feel that, you know, that I think was one of the success points of our parklet program. The building official and the planner work directly with the restaurant or the property owner to create something that was safe, that was acceptable, and that, you know, blended in where it was. So I would, again, I'm not the final decision maker, but my recommendation would be absolutely against a cookie cutter approach. Yes, you have certain design requirements in place, but you don't require a certain look or feel, because that destroys what we've already built. And then further, I'm not looking for restaurant owners or parklet, not owners, license holders, to have to redo everything that they've done. If there's some modest tweaks, okay, so be it. But I don't want them. I mean, some of these parklet efforts have cost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, and I don't want to have to require somebody to redo that or lose that investment entirely. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you for coming. You know where we are. We're here at City Hall.
We also walk around.
Yeah, so feel free to email us, contact us. We've got a 6-month window. The city council really wanted us to get to them by the end of the calendar year. Doesn't mean that a final decision will be made then, but the project schedule that you saw was per the city council direction. So that's our intent. But thank you. And I'm not sure how much of this meeting will really be recorded. We'll do the best we can. But you've got city support here. So thank you.
Thank you.
No. Well, we had that. Months ago. I know they're not much of the French.
Make sure it's stopped.
Yeah, I was
recording.
just
Yeah,
realized
you could
that.
just end it.